Hey everyone, so today I'll be looking at this SQL interview question that was asked in Amazon Data Science interview. And I'm looking at this Strata Scratch website, which has a live IDE to run your SQL queries. And this site has a lot of real life interview question. Hello, my name is Rohan-Paul, and very welcome to my computer vision and deep learning YouTube channel. Let's get started. So this question asks for write a query that will identify returning active users. A returning active user is a user that has made a second purchase within 7 days of any other of their purchases. Output a list of user IDs of these returning active users. And the table to be used for this is Amazon transaction table. And if you want to view the table, just click on preview, and that will show you the table on this right panel here. These are all the column heading, that is I have ID, user ID, and the columns are also given here, and that is ID is an integer, user ID integer, item is varchar, created at is just date time. It has got only the date actually, no timestamp, so it is just pretty much date time. And then revenue is also int figure. All right, and the main condition is that the main requirement is output a list of user IDs of these returning active users. And returning active users means two rows, that is each of these rows are actually transaction. So I need to find users who made 2 transactions in less than 7 or equal to days. And the expected output should be like this, that is, it is just a single vertical column with user IDs who meets this condition. So that means that I have to find this relationship between two rows, that is, the rows in this table have a relationship, and that means that I have to bring in self-join concept here. And what is self-join? In SQL, self-join is used to join a table to itself, that is, join a table to the self, as if the table were two tables, and this joining is only temporarily renaming at least one of the table during these operation. Also, to use a self join, the table must contain a column, call it maybe X, that acts as a primary key, and a different column, call it maybe Y, that stores values that can be matched up with the values in column X. So in this case, I can see this ID column, which is actually representing the transaction of the user, that can be used as a primary key for the self join. And where exactly self join is required, basically it is used where there is any relationship between rows stored in the same table. So it's use cases where there is a hierarchy of relationship in the table. For example, a hierarchy assigns a row in a table to another row within the same table. You might think of it as having a parent-child relationship. Basically, you see that where you have a table, and in the same table there are employees, then the manager of the employees, things like that. And here in this case, I have the hierarchical relationship between the rows, in the sense that some rows they represent purchases early, and some rows represent purchases on a separate day. So in terms of the time period, they have a relationship. And first, I'm going to select only the distinct values from my user ID. So I'm going to name one of the table. I'm going to name the table for the self join purpose as A and B. So I'm going to do that in a second. First, let's complete this distinct statement, user ID, and then from the name of the table is Amazon transaction. Transactions as A. So that's how I'm going to name it. Amazon, am I spelling it right? Amazon transaction, yes. And then join again. As B on I have to join based on the user ID here. So A dot and also I need to do the condition where it cannot be the same transaction. So these ID, although these user ID needs to be same, the ID cannot be the same. So a dot ID not equal to B dot ID. And now finally the most important condition that I have to pass within a where clause, and that's this condition, that is these two transaction needs to be separated by less than 7 days. That's the condition. That is a returning active user is a user that has made a second purchase within 7 days. So two transaction cannot exceed 7 days of time gap. And I'm going to hold on to that. So I'm going to bring in first a where clause, where let's do deaddiff, and that a dot created at, that's this column here, b dot created at should be less equal to 7 days. Now let's pass this entire deaddiff within an absolute function. Yeah, that should do. Let's try to run this code and see if I'm doing it right. I made a mistake. Deaddiff, what is that? Perhaps you mean to reference the column b dot created at? Oh, obviously. This is not the spelling mistake, created. Yeah, now let's run it again. Yes. So these are my user ID. Sorry, yeah, these are the transaction of by the user. These are my returning users who made these two transaction within 7 days. Now to be in Strata Scratch, you have to get the final confirmation of your solution by clicking on this check solution. And yeah, it says it's solved. That means it matches with its answer. All right, that pretty much wraps up this video. And over the next months and weeks, I'm going to do many such SQL interview question taken from real life interviews. So stay tuned, and if you have not subscribed the channel yet, do subscribe. Thank you very much for watching. See you in the next one.